I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hey everyone, welcome to Sustain Your Passion episode 10, which is so cool. I'm very excited that this is episode 10. And today I'm going to talk to you about what it means when I say sustain your passion. Now, this is something that I have been saying since I first started my business about 5.5 years ago. It was actually the name of my career coaching program that I first started my business with, that I offered to help professional women that were overwhelmed and super busy, either at or on the verge of burnout, go from I just want to quit to I'm going to be strategic and plan my next move and really figure out what I want in that next move so that you can actually have everything you want in your job. And so I was really focused in on helping women get clear on who they are right now. Because a lot of people with their career decisions, they maybe decided what they were going to be like when they were 8, and then their families just kept encouraging that. Or when they were freshmen in college, when they were 18 and they got into a major track and they kept feeling like, well, if I change now, I've wasted so much time just to get a degree they didn't really love, to get jobs they didn't really love, and then ultimately end up unhappy. Or they were in jobs for a while, kind of hopping around, and they kept thinking the next job was going to be the right job, but something was still with them no matter where they went job-wise. And so they kept burning out. They kept feeling overwhelmed at work. They kept feeling like every job sucks, and they really hated their career, even though they were brilliant, smart, hardworking, caring, and compassionate women. They couldn't figure out a way to balance the difference they wanted to make in people's lives through their work while taking care of themselves. So I always think of Sustain Your Passion, my career coaching program, as being a self-love based career coaching program, which is pretty different than a lot of the career coaching that I've seen other people offer, in that it really is all about you getting to know yourself so that you can make well-aligned decisions. And I believe that self-love is the act of sitting with yourself long enough to get to know your needs, your interests, your strengths, your values, your goals, your desires, your thoughts. It is a very mindful process of getting to know yourself so that then you can start loving yourself and then actually applying that to your decisions. Like, for example, in your career or in your work-life balance setup. So actually setting boundaries around your job or setting boundaries with your relationships so that you had enough time to recharge so that you could go back to work on Monday and not hate your life. So this all started from that program's name, because to me, the goal was I wanted to help women that were very passionate. They were busy professionals. They were the best in their fields. They often had really great reviews at work. People loved them. They knew that they were doing a lot, but none of it really sunk in as meaningful work. I remember this one client that we got on a call and I was getting to know her, and I was just blown away at all of the things she was doing. And she said to me, yeah, but I think I should be doing more. And it was that feeling of okay, you're so passionate about helping people, but you don't know how to set limits on it. And so this isn't sustainable, right? It's not sustainable to just keep going forever. It's kind of like how us being in late stage capitalism, capitalism in and of itself isn't problematic, but not incorporating other philosophies into it to keep things balanced. So it's not just this never ending, soul crushing, forever push towards more. That's a problem, right? And a lot of people think that that's what they're supposed to be doing in their careers. And they think that if they're passionate about what they do for their work, that they won't be able to set boundaries around it. So they'll just be working all the time. And then they burn out. And they look around and they're like, wait, what happened? How did I get here? Right? Well, I loved getting to help people with that problem because that's what I experienced. I loved my work so much. I loved my students. I loved my colleagues. I love talking to people about their careers, but my way of engaging as an employee was not sustainable for me. I had this clear passion for what I was doing, and yet no one really saw the dark side of that passion, except Jonathan. He would see when I would come home and not be able to talk for hours because I spent all day talking and my voice was so hoarse and dry because I didn't have enough time between meetings to go grab water. And if I drank water, I'd have to go use the bathroom. But I literally had back-to-back meetings for 8 straight hours a day that I would try and limit my water intake so I'd have this dry throat because I was an advisor talking all day long. So he would, want to ask me about my day, want to connect with me, want to talk and spend time together. And I physically couldn't talk, let alone my brain was fried because I was working all day so much, like with very minimal breaks. Even like most days I would be working on my lunch break just so I could get out of the office on time. And then there were other pieces of like, I was just so busy, like all the time. The idea that a friend wanted to spend time with me felt like so much pressure, even though I loved that person. I loved the idea of what they wanted to do. I genuinely wanted to spend time with them. I wanted to do the thing they were inviting me to, but being asked to spend time with someone felt so taxing because I was already operating at above and way beyond what was actually comfortable and sustainable for me all day at work. That passion that I had and, have figured out a new way to manage, but that passion is also what I grounded so much of my identity in that even though I knew how unhealthy my lifestyle was, where I was just like chugging coffee all day, like working like crazy, not taking care of my other needs like social or like bathroom breaks and stuff, like physical needs, I kept asking for more opportunities. And when I was asked to do more work, I could not say no. Like I literally didn't know how to, let alone even like providing myself the space to consider if I might even want to say no. I was just a yes girl. Like it made me very dependable. It made me very well liked at work. It made me very successful and I achieved a lot of things. But looking back, like those years that I spent very, very passionate, but very, very exhausted, I was really unhappy. Like at the core of it, I was just running from my thoughts. I was avoiding my personal mental health concerns, my childhood traumas, my toxic relationships with my family, and I wasn't taking good care of myself. And that was my addiction. My work was my addiction. And we have this really shitty dynamic in our society because of capitalism that makes it where if you are super passionate about your work and you work all the time, you're praised for it. Like, I literally got an award that was called the Women of Achievement Award. Like, Jennifer and Kim, if you're listening to this, thank you for nominating me for that. Like, that was such a cool opportunity. And I remember kind of having an out-of-body experience that was like, me, a woman of achievement, I just do all this stuff because I'm supposed to. I just do all this stuff because I thought that's what I needed to do to be good enough. And I can look back at that picture that I took with my award and see, like, I was wearing a shirt that was so uncomfortable. I was doing my hair in a really unnatural way for me. I was so tired. Like, there are such dark bags under my eyes because I was living off of coffee. I was not sleeping well because I was in grad school and working and volunteering and doing research. Like, I was just doing so much, but everyone around me just saw it as like, she's really passionate about what she does. Like, how cool. And I don't know, like, there might have been people in my life that saw, like, she's clearly running from something. Like, that anxiety is clearly what's compelling her to overwork so much. Like, she's a workaholic. I don't know. Maybe people saw it. Maybe people even said it to me, but like, I could not hear that because I was at a place where my identity was so deeply tied to my ability to serve others and my work, right? That's really how I expressed that. And I was rewarded for it. And so it took me a long time to actually see, like, oh shit, this isn't sustainable. And I had a mental breakdown where it was actually after Trump was elected. And it just upset me so much that someone who could be so cruel and like documented cruel, right, in so many ways, evil, could work his way up to such a high position of power, and millions of people could look the other way at all of the things he's done wrong and then keep supporting him and being like, yeah, we want to give you more influence over more people and we want you making bigger decisions. Like, that was so shocking to me as I was over there like hustling to do good in the world and like make people's lives better, right? Even at the expense of my own well-being. That was like my martyrdom. That was my mission. That was my sacrifice, right? It was like, I'm such a good person because I overwork. And so many women go through this. So many people go through this where they experience that for so long and then something happens and it just kind of breaks your spirit. So for me, it was Trump getting elected. And there was this added piece to it that maybe I'll share about at some point. But watching someone who had the type of allegations that he had be in that role triggered my personal childhood traumas coming up. And I started experiencing flashbacks of what I went through. And so there was this whole other mental illness side, but I'm going to stick to talking to you about like the way that my career was changed at that point. So that happened. But then also I got to the point where it just didn't feel worth it anymore. It felt like, on top of experiencing PTSD, which if you've never experienced is really scary, I also was having this like breakdown of beliefs around me of, I genuinely believed that if you were a good person, good things would happen to you. And if you were a bad person, bad things would happen to you. And I believed in justice and our justice systems. And I believed that it mattered that you cared about your influence on other people and that your community would notice and care. And in small pockets, I saw that. But then in such a big way, I didn't see it. And so I started really just looking at my life and starting to question everything. And when I would have those days where I was overgiving really unhealthily, I would ask myself, like, is this really what my life is going to be for the next, like, 40 years? This doesn't seem sustainable. Like, I love my students. I love my work. I love my colleagues. I love my volunteer opportunities. Like, I genuinely love helping people and having personal relationships with them and teaching. But like this model in higher ed, in the type of work I was doing, for me, was not sustainable with the boundaries I had at that point. And at the same time, I was going through this recognition that like being around my childhood abuser so much was going to keep triggering my PTSD symptoms, and I needed to put physical space between me and him, but then also get deeper help in therapy. And so I did EMDR therapy once I moved. But all of that was happening. And career-wise, I realized, like, maybe I don't need to be on every committee I'm invited to. Maybe I don't need to be volunteering on 3 separate different volunteer groups. Maybe I can say no more. Like, what would that be like? How do I do that even? And I spent about a year learning everything I could, like on top of my psychology degree, on top of my master's of ed. I dove headfirst into boundaries and communicating your boundaries and making decisions that were in alignment with your boundaries and how to actually sustain your passion. And then that became what I was so passionate about, was helping people sustain their passion and actually helping those people that we can look at and be like, you do so much good in your world. And if you don't figure out a way to sustain this, you're going to burn out, and then you're not going to be able to keep making the kind of impact we really need in the world. So it's, as much as it was like, I physically am and mentally and like I'm just unwell right now and I need to change my behaviors for myself and my family, there also was this dynamic of like, if I don't start taking care of myself more and being selfish sometimes and putting myself first and taking genuinely good care of myself and spending time loving myself enough to even know what that means to be able to take care of myself, I can't do what I want to do for the rest of my life, which is be of service to others. I studied psychology and got my master's of ed because my driving force was always, I want to help people. You know, when like we were all asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like my answer was, I want to be someone that sits on a cozy couch and talks to people about how to overcome their problems. Never wanted to pursue therapy because that's just way too heavy. But like, there's a lot of other ways to do exactly that, which is how I ended up finding coaching. But the point, right, of sustaining your passion is that we need deeply passionate, smart people in roles that can sustain their passion so that they can make the type of difference that they are here to make. Our world has some big fucked up problems, and we need genuinely compassionate, caring people who are so passionate about the work that they do that they become really fucking good at it, that they can make big waves in some of our biggest fucking problems. But that can't happen if they're all burnt the fuck out because we live in late stage capitalism that requires overworking and praises a disgusting obsession with work that then ultimately leads them to burning out so they don't get to make that impact. Like, fuck, right? That sucks. So I became very committed to talking about this idea that it is ethically selfish to spend time getting to know yourself and developing self-love so that you can act on it and practice good self-care in your life so that you can sustain your passion. Now, here's the thing that, always surprised me. When I would talk to people, they would think like, oh, sustain your passion, is that to, sustain your passion for your marriage? Is it sustain your passion for this or that or whatever? And I think about your passion differently than most people, I think. So for me, when I say sustain your passion, I mean your passion as your flow, your interest, your fire, the energy in you that gets you up out of bed in the morning, the you that lights up when you talk about the thing you care most deeply about. You know those people in your life that like, when they talk about what they do, they just fucking glow. Like they are just so clearly in the right aligned workplace and like work opportunity and career path that you can't help but like want to cheer them on. That passion that that person has in that moment is a fire in them. It is a true alignment between their interests, strengths, values, their personality, their goals, and their actions and their choices. They are living out their biggest goals, their biggest dreams in their day-to-day life and in their career choices. Like, that is so freaking beautiful. You know these people, right? Like, you can picture them. That's what I mean when I say sustain your passion. I don't mean sustain your passion for teaching because, oh, you've always been a teacher, you have to stay a teacher. No, because you and your values and your goals and your dreams and your interests are bigger than your profession. And you have this part of you that is light and beautiful and happy and fiery. And I don't even know how else to explain it, but just like joyful and passionate. And that part of you, if it can't sustain healthily as a teacher, then you have to leave teaching, right? Like, that's one example. Or you have to change your relationship to your job. You have to figure out, what is it exactly that is overtaxing me so that I'm not my same passionate self anymore? Whatever that thing is, it's not worth it. Like, whatever it is, it's not worth it. Whether it is, like in my case, your relationship with your family, whether it is the way that you are saying yes to everything at work, whether it is your personal satisfaction of feeling like you do everything and that that's somehow a good thing and it gives you purpose and identity and makes you feel important. If that is draining your passion, it has to go. You have to make decisions that help you sustain your passion. And so this podcast is called Sustain Your Passion because I love helping people be their most passionate selves. There is this moment, like this twinkle in your eye, this joy in your voice that everyone has for something. And they light up differently when they talk about or they do that thing. Some people call it your flow state. You know, if you look at positive psychology and like the perma theory, they look at flow state, and I forget his name. I think it's Seligman. There's research on this and they call it your flow state, where it's just like you go into this like tunnel and you can just work and work and work and work and work for hours because you just love it. Your brain is just functioning at a different level. Other people might call it your highest purpose, or self-actualization. If we were to go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, it is where you are serving in your greatest capacity because you are so joyful and so happy that you are shining light on everything you touch and everything you talk about. I think everyone deserves to figure out what that is for them and then figure out what needs to be done to sustain that passion. So this podcast is very focused on business goals, right? And entrepreneurship and making sure you don't burn out on pursuit of your biggest business goals. But if you are still working a job that you hate and you're dreaming of entrepreneurship, I want you to know that this podcast can help you too. If you are a year into your business, but you're still working a job, this podcast can help you. And if you are 10 years into your business and you're starting to wonder, is this actually what I want? If you are anywhere along that journey, if you have ever thought, ugh, I have to go do this. And maybe you used to love it. Or maybe you never thought that it was a burden before. But something's changed. I urge you to figure out what your passion is, because it changes over time. And you could wake up every day and ask yourself, what is my passion? And what do I need to do to sustain my passion today? What is the thing that lights me up that I'm most grateful I get to think about, do, or feel, or experience today? And then how do I sustain my passion for that thing? And then keep doing that over and over and over again. That's how you live in alignment with who you truly are. Now, people always want to say, like, oh, what's my passion, right? You feel it. Like, that's the hardest thing for me to actually. It's not hard, it's just complicated. So, in my career coaching program, the first half of it was self-exploration. And this was something I learned about when I was an advisor at Oregon State in the exploratory studies program. We studied career theories and career decision-making practices and different ways of knowing like what would be the right fit for you. And I remember thinking, like, one person could need to do one assessment and one person could need to do 10. The next person needed to do 3. And for one person, doing the MBTI really worked. And the next person doing the StrengthsFinder really worked. And then the next person really needed to do a DISC analysis. And so there was so many different ways, right? Like, personality psychology is always looking for the same thing, how to understand yourself better, right? And if you are anxious at all or you overthink things at all, you've probably developed a deep love for personality assessments because they help you make decisions, right? They help you learn more about yourself. And at the end of the day, all of those ways of looking at yourself all need to add up to you understanding what gives you that full body, energized, flow state, passion, fiery, excited, joyful, what have you, feeling. And I bet you could look back on your life and consider what was the last thing that made you feel that lit up, joyful, passionate feeling. Can you think of it? For me, it's right now. Like, I fucking love this. I love podcasting and I love talking about this topic. I love helping people sustain their passion. So whatever it is for you, I want you to think back on it and then ask yourself the question, what is one thing I could do to help me spend more time doing that thing? That's it. Like, you don't have to radically change your job or your life or, flip everything upside down. You could just be like 1% closer to sustaining your passion. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's that you carve out 5 minutes a day to read about it. Maybe it's that you go find a Facebook group where other people talk about it. Maybe it's that you follow a TikTok creator that works in that area. Maybe it's that you just send a text to an old friend that you used to talk about that topic a lot with and let them know that it mattered to you. But do something to love yourself and love your passions enough that you try to sustain them so that you can make the kind of difference you were here to make in a way that feels good to you, that is sustaining to you, that is joyful and fun and light and life-giving. Because you deserve to sustain your passion too. We all have that feeling of passion. We all know what it feels like when you can feel it kind of radiating out of your bones. You can't stop smiling. You're just so happy. I want you to live in that place, that feeling of passion that makes you excited to wake up tomorrow more often. And I want to help you make decisions in your career and your life that make it more possible for you to pursue your passions. Now, for me, this looks like entrepreneurship. And the reason I shifted away from career coaching is because it felt inauthentic for me to want to help people get jobs when ultimately I truly believe entrepreneurship for the people that are attracted to me and my work is probably the best fit for them because it is so freeing. It is so freaking cool. And if you are listening to this podcast, you have a method of listening to podcasts, right? So like you probably have a phone or a computer. You have at least 30 minutes in your day to be listening to this. that means you have everything it takes to start your own business. We live in a really fucking cool time. And as dark and shady as capitalism is, it has brought us some really dope inventions like technology to make it where you're hearing my voice right now wherever you are, and I'm sitting cozied up in my house, looking out at the birds in my backyard. Whatever your passion is that lights you up and gets you excited to wake up tomorrow and feel connected to the world, I believe you deserve to do that more. And if that means you need to start a business, if that means you need to do the big scary thing and, quit your job and find a different one, if that means you need to move, if that means you need to set different boundaries, whatever it is, you deserve to do it. And I want to help you. So hopefully this podcast gave you a bit more insight into the way I think about my purpose with the podcast, my purpose as a business coach, and why I value business development so much and entrepreneurship. It is so freeing. It's also really fucking hard, so I'm not going to try and make it sound like all rainbows and sunshine. It also comes with its own goals of actually sustaining your passion for your business too. So don't get me wrong. But it's so worth it. When you have that joyful, passionate feeling, it's so worth it. And I believe you deserve to have something that's worth it for you too. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast, and come back next week for more. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.